Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books and bookish things. I upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Central Time. I am an independent author, an avid reader, and a cat mom of 4. And today I wanted to talk about writer's block. What it is, how it affects. I can only speak to my own personal experience, so this will be how it affects me and how I deal with it, and hopefully this will help some of you other writers out there. Let's get into it. Writer's block to me is different from burnout, because I do get burnt out on writing, and that's not necessarily writer's block. Like, writer's block is you have the will and the motivation to keep working, but you don't know where the story is going. And that, to me, that is different from burnout, because burnout is, I don't want to work on this today. I can't take the mental load of working on this today. I need a break. So to me, that's the difference between the two is the wanting to and the willingness and the desire versus the lack of those things. So there's a quote, I tried to figure out who said it first, but I wasn't able to, that is, writer's block is when your imaginary friends won't talk to you anymore. And my brother sent that to me over text a few times, that I'm like, yeah, I've got writer's block, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, your imaginary friends aren't talking to you? So it's a fairly ubiquitous quote. I've seen several memes. There's a lot of merch with that on it. But I wasn't able to find out who said it first. Writer's block can be very frustrating. It can be very annoying, and for me, if I try to push through it by keep writing, it sometimes makes it worse because it leads to that burnout. So for me, it pretty much comes from 3 places. So the first of which is I don't know my characters well enough. I've talked before about interviewing my characters and getting to know them, that my main characters, I typically write out at least 100 questions that I ask them. So I like to do journal prompts and shadow works, which is like pop psychology prompts for them to get into their headspace before I sit down to start writing. I like to know my characters. I like to interview them. I like to get to know them. I like to answer questions in character. It's kind of like method acting, I guess, how you get into method acting, how you get into character. But I'm able to turn it off when I'm done writing for the day. So when I sit down to write, I usually pull out, this is the one that I have out to beta readers now, this is the notebook for that. I'll pull it out and I'll reread before I start writing for the day, I'll read or skim the questions for the characters on there, and that'll get me back into the right headspace from what I'm currently working on. Something else that helps is music. Like, if a character, one of the questions I always ask, what is the character's favorite song? So especially if I have a book with shifting perspectives, I will put on the genre or the kind of music that character likes, if not their favorite song, and go on from there. The one that's currently out to beta readers, there's a scene where she's listening to Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff and just kind of singing along. Like, she's singing along, not doing the new metal sing talking thing. Like, it makes sense in the story, but like, I put on that kind of music to get into her headspace. There's a cat in the window, he can't figure out how curtains work, whereas the male main character is more into divorced dad rock, as it were. Yeah, you like divorced dad rock? This is Loki. He likes to help. Actually, he's not very helpful. He likes to be held while I'm trying to write. It's very unhelpful. So something that helps when I've got writer's block, if it's coming from the characters themselves, is to sit down and re-interview the characters, ask them more questions, get curious about what makes these fictional people tick. The other thing, if that doesn't help, if getting to know my characters better doesn't help, it's usually because I don't know my setting well enough. And my setting could be the physical setting, it could be the world building, it could be the magic system I'm using, that it could be any number of things in that vein. But setting out and writing out, okay, what does the terrain of this environment look like? What is the magic system? How does it work? How does magic cost or hurt the caster? How does it work? What's the geopolitical climate like? What is, like, just asking questions and getting curious about my setting and the world building at large. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll make timelines for it, like the one that I've got out to betas right now. I was writing it and I'm like, wait, where am I in this story? And so I went back and I reread what I had written and set and put in my spreadsheet, because I love a spreadsheet, when we are in the story for each chapter, like what month, what day of the week, like all that, this, that, and the other for it. So just letting myself get curious about the world building, about the timeline, about where the characters live, about where they're going, about magic systems if I'm writing something more fantasy rather than contemporary. Like, just letting myself get curious is a big thing that helps. That I either need to get curious about my characters or I need to get curious about my world building. If that doesn't work, if I've gone through everything and gotten curious and asked myself all of these questions, it's probably the start of burnout. And sometimes I don't recognize that, or sometimes I don't want to recognize that, and I just need a break. I need a day off. I sat down to write at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I just need a break. I go take a nap, go do something else, read a book. That often helps, is reading, especially if I'm reading not in the genre I'm trying to write. I primarily write romance and fantasy, so I'll read something that's like horror, or I've got nonfiction, I've got manga, I've got noir, and like I like to read a lot of different things. So letting myself get curious. Sometimes I'll read a book on writing, or like how to craft better literature. But just taking a break and doing something else sometimes is the only way to do it. That sometimes I have to completely scrap the story or put it on pause for a while. I have one that I'm in revision hell with, and I have been for some time, and it's just not working. So that one, I don't know if I'll ever get it to a point where I want other people to read it. I've been working on it for many years. I wrote the very first draft of it when I was 16 or 17, and it's just not good, and I can't seem to beat it into shape. So that one, I'm just letting it rest and letting it marinate and letting it just be, and letting it be bad. I hope this is helpful to y'all. I know I got a little rambly there for a while, but I hope this is helpful to any writers or aspiring writers out there. What works for you when you're experiencing writer's block? How does it impact you? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!